Right now, the window for building a personal brand is closing, and AI is the reason why. Everywhere you look, the people who have built a personal brand or have a following are seeing massive outsized success with their products or services.
This is an opportunity that has never existed in the history of mankind.
People are 20 times more likely to follow a person than they are a company, which means if you can build even 1,000 genuinely interested followers, you will have the ability to generate millions of dollars in revenue. However, that window is closing. AI is flooding every feed, YouTube channels are posting 20 times a day with no humans involved, and the AI is only going to get better. My name is Chris Donnelly, and I've grown my personal brand to over 3 million followers and have personally driven millions of dollars of revenue to my different businesses. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you the 5 steps that make the difference. And at each one, I'm going to hand you a specific Claude prompt so you can execute it immediately. If you get this right, you will never need to chase another customer again. This whole system starts with one thing that no competitor, no agency, and no AI can take from you, and that is your story. Here's the mistake that I see founders make constantly. They treat their personal brand like a highlight reel. They wait until they've got something impressive to announce, a big exit, a major client, a revenue milestone, and then they show up online to tell everyone about it, and they wonder why no one cares. The founders who go on to build real, genuinely engaged audiences, they don't do that. They bring their audience on the journey with them, showing the struggle that they faced before they found their success. The decision that looked wrong before it turned out to be right, and the thing that they had to learn the hard way, which saved their audience from doing the same thing. So if you want to build a really strong audience, don't wait to achieve something and then try and tell everyone how great it is once you've achieved it. Gary Vaynerchuk wasn't building a global agency when he started posting content. Steve Bartlett wasn't running a media company when he launched his podcast from his bedroom. And Grace Beverly was a uni student just before she launched Tala. They were just people with a very specific point of view who started sharing it before they had anything to sell. The content came first, and the business followed afterwards. Your story works the same way, and because it's yours, it's the one thing in this entire system that cannot be copied. So how do you find your story? I use 3 exercises with every founder that I work with. So firstly, I want you to pull out your calendar or your Instagram or even your camera app and scroll and try and find memorable moments. This will start to prompt your own memory. You are collecting moments here that are real, they happen to you, that we can start to build content from. You will start to remember things. A moment you made a decision that terrified you, a client situation that nearly broke you, a decision that everyone thought was wrong and turned out to be the best thing you ever did. A period where everything fell apart before it came back together. And that's your context. AI cannot do that. I want you to go and find 10 of these moments, and for each one, write down 2 things. What happened? And what did you learn from it that someone else can benefit from? Now, when you're going through that exercise, I want you to pay particular attention to 3 types of moments, because these are the ones that consistently build the strongest connection with your audience. The first is a decision that looked wrong, a bet that you made that the people closest to you didn't back, or a pivot that nobody endorsed, or even a risk that looked reckless from the outside. These moments land with audiences because most people have faced a version of the same crossroads and went the safe route. That means when you talk about a time that you didn't follow the safe route and what you learned, you're showing them a path that they could take. The second is what you gave up to be there. When I went back through my calendar from 2025, which was one of the best business years that I've ever had, what I saw was how much I'd actually sacrificed to make it happen. There was very little personal content, but that in itself was a story of my sacrifice that year and something that many entrepreneurs can relate to. And that kind of honesty is rarer than any business insight that you could share. And it lands harder, all because your audience isn't looking for someone that is incredibly impressive. They're trying to find someone that they can learn from and someone that they can relate to. And the third is failure. Find a time where you were wrong publicly, or you were passed over, or you had to start again. And I know this is the one that people want to gloss over, but don't. It builds depth for people following you. The founders who talk honestly about where they've got it wrong are the ones that audiences trust the most, because it signals you've actually been in a difficult position and your audience are now in that position themselves and you came out the other side, which is worth sharing. This makes an audience desperate to learn from you and how you achieve that. So you now have a story that nobody else can steal. AI cannot generate that story for you. But if you don't pair that with the right topics, the algorithm will never put your content in front of the right people. So some people think the secret to growing an audience is casting your net as wide as possible and discussing a really wide variety of topics, things that are popular. I see founders posting about leadership on Monday, their morning routine on Wednesday, and then their thoughts on the latest news cycle on Friday. And then they're genuinely confused why no one is following them and why no one is interested in their content. And that's why I really want you to use content pillars. Your audience needs to know exactly what they're going to get from you. It seems counterintuitive, but the more specific you are, the faster you will grow your audience and the more trust you will build with that audience. So boxing yourself into 3 or 4 topics will accelerate your growth and will define what you end up becoming known for. So how do you find those pillars? Ask yourself 3 core questions. Number 1, what are you already known for? Go back through your story exercises and look for problems that you've solved more than once. Look at the topics that you've spoken about or posted about before that perform well and you get good feedback on. Number 2, what does your audience actually care about? I want you to go and read the comments on the most viral posts in your space. Not the posts themselves, the comments. And that will give you an unfiltered insight into the questions and the problems that people are actually facing. What problems are big enough that they would genuinely pay someone to solve? Number 3, how does it align with your offer? Take the topics that your audience is actively searching for and find the crossover with what you actually sell. Where they overlap is where the content pillars live. For me, the crossover between what founders are searching for, more traffic, more customers and more revenue, and what Searchable, my business, solves is how to get your business to show up in AI SEO. When your content pillars sit directly on top of the problem your business solves, every piece of content that you publish begins to automate your sales process for you. Now that you've found your pillars, you need to assess them. And this used to take weeks of trial and error, but Claude has incredible context on social strategy. So here's a prompt that you can steal to assess these pillars. Here is a description of my business and what I do. Here are the content pillars I'm considering. Tell me whether these pillars are specific enough to build an audience around, whether they align with what my ideal customer is searching for, and suggest any gaps or alternatives I should consider. Now let's talk about how to actually produce content at scale. At the start of your journey, pick one platform and go all in on that platform. Learn how it works, understand what performs, and don't move on until you have real traction. The biggest mistake I see founders make is spreading themselves across 4 different channels before they've even mastered one, and then producing, frankly, mediocre content everywhere. And when you do that, you're not going to build any momentum at all. Once you have traction on one platform, and it will be obvious when you do because the growth will become consistent rather than random, that's the moment when you expand. And when that time comes, you need a system that will connect everything together. That system is what I call the content pyramid. There are 3 layers, each with a very specific job, all built on the pillars that we just created previously. At the base is your everyday content. This consists of short form videos, LinkedIn posts, Twitter posts, anything that someone can consume in under 2 minutes. This is also your widest reach and your highest volume. Its only job is to find new people and make them interested enough in what you have to say to go deeper with you with the rest of your content. It doesn't need to be your best work, but it does need to be consistent. Valuable enough to stop people scrolling and specific enough that the right person immediately thinks, this content is for me. The second layer is your long form content. This consists of your YouTube videos, your podcasts, your long form blog posts, and it's here where the relationship gets built with your audience. There's a fundamental difference between someone who reads one of your posts or watched a 30-second reel and someone who spends an hour listening to how you think through a problem and explain how you solve something in detail. That second person trusts you far more simply because they've been exposed to you for longer, and trust is what converts people ultimately. At the top is the layer most people build last, but it's actually something that you should be thinking about from day one. This is your owned audience, your email list or your community. This is the only place in the entire system where you own the relationship outright, and where no algorithm change or platform update or no shift in reach can take that audience away from you overnight. Every other social media layer or following is effectively a rented audience. You don't own it. Your owned audience is also where the commercial relationship changes entirely. On social, you're constrained to broad hooks and mass appeal. You need to feed the algorithm content that engages people, not necessarily converts people. In your email list or community, you're talking to people who already trust you. You can go deep on a specific problem that your offer solves, and you can share what's working inside your business right now. And you can make an ask directly to them without dressing it up or without hooking it, because you've done the work and the relationship has been built elsewhere. This is where the content you've been producing for months finally converts into revenue. I constantly see founders spending all their energy at the base of the pyramid, trying to sell to an audience they haven't even warmed up yet. It doesn't work because the trust isn't there. So let the pyramid do its job. Short form finds people, long form builds trust, and the owned channels do the converting. Once you have that pyramid in place, there's one more thing that will multiply your output without multiplying your effort. It's called the content waterfall. Everything starts with one piece of long form content. And for me, that's usually a newsletter, a YouTube video, or a long LinkedIn post. That's the source. And let me show you exactly what happens from there. Last month, I published a long-form YouTube video on how to get your company to show up in ChatGPT and AI search. From that one post, I pulled 10 short-form text posts, each one isolating a single idea from the original post. I cut 3 short video clips from the footage that I already had, and those clips went out across YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. The original YouTube became the basis of a newsletter that went out to my whole email list the following week. From that one piece of content, I was able to create nearly 30 different touch points. That post alone reached 400,000 people, despite the original YouTube video only getting 17,000 views. And the best part is, it's still pulling in new followers 2 months later, because the short forms keep getting reshared. That's the compounding effect that nobody talks about. Most founders think about creating a completely new piece of content every single day. The waterfall, however, means that the content you created months ago is still working, it's still finding new people, and it's still funneling them towards your business. The founders who don't build this system spend years creating content that goes almost nowhere because there's nothing pulling people through. And the best part is you don't need a full team to make this happen. Once you have your long form piece of content, I want you to go to Claude and say, I'm going to paste a long form piece of content below. From it, I want you to generate 10 short form LinkedIn or Twitter posts, each making one distinct point, 3 short video scripts under 60 seconds each, and 1 newsletter. Keep the tone consistent throughout. Here is the content. I don't decide what to post every morning. Once a week, I sit down with my team. I look at what my audience is already engaging with. I choose the content and schedule everything there and then. And that's it. That's the only way to stay consistent without burning out. If this still feels like a lot, then I want you to build in stages. Start with 1 short form platform, and once that's consistent, introduce 1 long form channel. Then over time, layer in your owned audience. But start now, because every week that you delay is a week of compounding that you will never get back. So we've covered how to stay consistent, but consistency is meaningless without real audience growth. Audience growth comes from reading the data and doubling down on the signals and the trends that work, not just posting more and hoping something lands. There are 2 metrics I want you to focus on, and we're not interested in likes or views. The 2 numbers that actually tell you if you're growing are saves and shares. A save means someone found your content valuable enough to come back to it later. That's a person that wanted to learn from you, but didn't have the time in that second. A share means someone who thought it was worth putting their own name behind it and sending it to someone else. These really are 2 of the strongest signals of genuine value, and they're the ones that the algorithm uses to decide whether to push your content to a wider audience. Second, I want you to focus on what I call outliers and try and pre-validate your content from those outliers. Find a creator whose audience overlaps with yours and go through their last 30 posts. If one topic is generating 5 times more shares than everything else they've posted, that is what I call an outlier. And if you find the same outlier pattern on 3 or 4 other profiles, the same topic consistently performing at 5 times the normal rate, then the algorithm is telling you that is what the audience is interested in. The beauty of this is that you're pre-validating your content before you've even written a single word. You already know it works, and now you just need to go and make that content. Then apply the same rigor to your own posts. Most people look at their analytics and they see views and impressions. I want you to go deeper than that. Within the analytics of each individual post, you can see how many new followers came from that specific piece of content. Therefore, I want you to take the posts from your competitors and your own high-performing posts, and then ask Claude this prompt to create more content like the examples. So everything that you are creating is pre-validated. Here are the top performing posts from 3 content creators in my space, plus my own best performing posts. Identify the common topics, formats and hooks that appear across all of them, and then write me 10 new posts in my voice that follow the same patterns, but with my own unique perspective and experience. The final point is the most significant. It's where you turn the followers into buyers. The gap between someone enjoying your content and someone paying you significant money is wider than most people think. And if you don't build something to bridge it, you'll keep leaving revenue on the table, no matter how good your content gets. To bridge the gap, you need to think about it in 3 layers. Each has a role and they need to work together to make it happen. The first layer is your lead magnet. And for Searchable, my AI search company, our free lead magnet is a free AI visibility report. Its only job is to convert a stranger into someone you can reach out directly to without relying on the algorithm. Everything I publish is about AI search. Every piece of content across LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter sits in that one topic area, which is SEO and how to improve your visibility in search. That's it. We don't talk about leadership. We don't talk about mindset in these posts. Every single post, every video, every newsletter exists to educate founders on one thing: how to generate revenue from AI search. So once they land on the free AI visibility report, we run their brand against all the major AI platforms like ChatGPT or Gemini, and we show them where they're being successful, where they're failing, how their competitors beating them. And ultimately, with a lead magnet, you want someone to be like, this is so good and it's free and it's answered my actual problem. And I understand how hard it can be to think of a brilliant lead magnet that will take people off social media and convert them onto your email list. But we've put together a prompt here that you can use to create incredible lead magnets. So go to Claude and tell it, I want to create a lead magnet for my business. Here is what I do, and here is who I help. Suggest 3 lead magnet ideas that would attract exactly the right person. Solve a real world problem before asking for anything, and naturally lead someone towards wanting to buy from me. For each one, explain why it would work and what format it should take. The second layer is an email funnel, and that's where you begin to build the most trust with your audience. Each email should make the problem feel increasingly real, personal, and urgent, while positioning you as the person who understands it better than anyone else. You're not selling, you want to deliver immediate value. Go deeper on a specific challenge that they're facing and share the kind of insight that only comes from having lived inside the problem yourself. And by the time the final email arrives, an invitation to a live webinar where you walk them through the full solution of your product, it feels like something they would miss out on if they didn't attend. Which brings me to that third layer, which is hosting something like a live webinar. This is the single highest converting moment in the entire system. And the reason is very simple. A webinar does something that no individual piece of content can do on its own. It creates urgency. It lets you answer objections in real time, and it lets people experience what it actually feels like to learn from you before committing to anything at all. So we use webinars to walk founders through exactly how AI search works and how it's changing the way that customers find businesses. And by the end of it, the problem is real in a way to them that it wasn't before, and they can see exactly how to solve that problem for their business and why our software is the solution. So the thing that makes this so incredibly powerful is that once it's up and running, it compounds like nothing else. Content you posted 6 months ago is still feeding new people into the top of the funnel. Your email list is doing the converting at the bottom of the funnel, and now you're not chasing a single customer. They are showing up to your webinars and the system is doing it for you. That is the difference between a personal brand and a personal brand that actually makes money. Every person watching this video right now has enough of a story to start. You don't need more experience, a bigger business, or a better camera. The founders I've seen build the fastest and most profitable personal brands are almost never the ones that have the most impressive credentials. They're the ones who started documenting their journey before they had almost anything to show for it. The window I talked about at the start of the video is real. AI-generated content is everywhere, and if you want to create a profitable personal brand that lasts over time, you need to make sure that you focus on your story and use the right AI tools to amplify that story. So my challenge to you for the next 90 days is commit to the pyramid. Get the lead magnet live and watch what it does to your inbound. And if you want to know where to start practically, the next video covers building a LinkedIn profile that performs in 2026. And that's your first step. Go and watch it now.